Wise Wednesdays started on April 1st with a humble episode on forgiveness. Between then and now, we've had heart-led conversations on happiness, stress management, relationships, resilience, public speaking, respecting boundaries, self-discovery, mindset, just being, listening, reclaiming your life, intuition, and even food. I would like to thank all my listeners and the guests who gave me their time and trust. It is because of you that we kept going. It is because of you that we kept growing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so, so much. Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 39 of Wise Wednesdays with RK. Our conversation today revolves around finishing bold, and quite obviously, if I know someone who's a boldness coach, she's the one to speak about this. My guest today is Vaneese Johnson. She is the Boldness Coach, an award-winning international speaker, certified brand strategist, career coach, author, globally recognized impact maker with a heart of gold. So here I bring to you, Vaneese, into the conversation. Hi there.
Hi, how are you, beautiful?
I am good. And it is a pleasure, a joy, an absolute delight to have you on board. And it's quite literally, as I told you, you're the cherry on the cake. We've been working through the year on this, and I really wanted to finish strong. And when you said yes, for me, it was more like, yes, let's do this. So thank you for saying yes.
You are so welcome, and I'm honored for the opportunity because you and I have been working at this moment. We've been working at this moment for quite some time now, and we have almost spanned the globe to come to this moment right here. So I'm definitely honored to be here.
True that. And what she means is we first met in New Delhi, then we met in Dubai, then we met again in Cairo, and then here we are online as well. So it's going to be good fun. And for those of you who are very well aware of my work, let me ask you if you spot something in Venice's frame that seems like something that's familiar, that you might recognize as something to do with me, because she's been so sweet to kind of place it there, or I don't know if it always sits there, but it does. Okay,
Yeah,
it
since
does.
since I got back from Dubai, since I got back from Cairo, I think it was Cairo that you gave it to me.
Yes.
It has been there since I have been back from Cairo.
Hmm. Not that I'm giving anybody any hints, but yeah, just saying. So yes,
Yeah,
I
and
was.
not that I'm giving anybody any hint, or anything. Just saying, just saying.
Just saying. So yes, we have Umair. We have who says the smile. He's a regular. He watches in. Thank you, Umair, for joining. Thank you, Cindy, for joining. And for those of you who are listening in across different platforms, please put in your name. Let us know where you're watching from, so that we can acknowledge, appreciate, and say hello to you. We're telecasting on LinkedIn, on YouTube, as well as on Facebook. So welcome to the show once again.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for being here. Umar,
Umair, yes,
Umair. Thank you, Umair,
yes,
for being here.
yes. So when somebody says they are a boldness coach, what does that mean?
So I am the boldness coach. I would
The
like to
boldness coach,
say that.
sorry.
Yeah, the boldness coach. So that's a brand that I created because there was a point in my life when I really wanted more courage in my life.
Hmm.
I really lacked courage. And when I say courage, most people think, oh, I'm courageous. I can do this, I can do that. But when to live a life of boldness really means for you to own your authenticity, it really
Okay,
means to step into your birthright.
sorry to interrupt you there, but the feedback I'm getting is your voice is a bit low. Could you increase the volume or move in closer?
Allow me-
Nope, you're mute. So you might have been muted using StreamYard itself. So it's all right. It's all right. I
Can you hear me now?
yes, yes, guys. Is it better? Just let us know if it's better, if the voice sound is clear, because both Umair and Cindy said it's hard to hear you.
Okay. So I see the comments. Are you able to hear me now? Everyone, is it better? That's the fun thing about technology, right?
Yes,
We
the
can
most spoken the most spoken words in 2020. Can you hear me? You're on mute.
That's really great. I would absolutely say yeah.
Okay, hi Vidya. Okay, I think it's better because I'm not hearing any. No, it isn't. So I think it's fine.
Okay.
Is it possible for you to slightly increase the volume?
I am trying to.
I think the closer you get to the screen, the better it is.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, yes.
Let's try one more. Let me readjust my screen so that way you can see me and hear me. Give me 1 second. Let's see.
Sure, sure. Okay, so as I was saying, I met her at first in New Delhi. We are fellow mates from the Women's Economic Forum. That's where I met her the first time. She presented this amazing session on boldness. She shared her story, and like it instantly clicked with me. And yeah, volume's better.
Okay. So you can hear me good?
Super good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
All
Perfect.
right.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah. So so I was just filling the time telling people about how I met you
Mhm.
and how we instantly clicked. The second time I met her was in Dubai, as she shared. It was around the time when I was just beginning to go out and meet with people after Papa's passing, and to meet her and the kind of vibrant energy she has was for me the best thing that happened that day. I was like, oh my God, somebody familiar, and yes, I can connect with her. So that's what it was. And then Cairo again, that I just shared a picture of us, that moment where I bumped, where you tapped me on the shoulder, and there we were, yaying like little girls in school. So,
I was so happy to see you. And what
so
was
sorry.
interesting, I think we both met at a pivotal time because when I was in Delhi, that was, my entree into boldness. And so I had developed this brand, as I was mentioning before, about being courageous. I really wanted to be courageous from a level of authenticity, from a level of what I was born to do, who I was born to be in the world. Because we can be courageous and do tasks, and things that might even kind of are eyebrow raising, but to live in a space of boldness, which means to own who you are every day in every way, takes a different level of mindset to be. And so coming to Delhi, out of all the places, in the world to really step into my boldness, Delhi was, I would say, probably the highest level of a stretch in that moment to leave US. And I had traveled internationally before to comfortable places, like
Mhm.
Caribbean islands, where it's nice and warm, not really different, but to get on an airplane and to go around on the other side of the world and to step into a culture with the promise of meeting other women from around the world, not knowing anyone there, and really just being prayerful and thankful that everything's going to work out right. And I'm excited to be here. And
Mhm.
so then in Delhi, being able to meet you, I remember the session that I had and you coming up to me and we connected in that moment. But to be in a space, in a world out of your comfort zone, in a world away from what gives you, what you feel is your security blanket, I think that is a way that you can step into your boldness. And you don't have to leave the country. I'm going to share some techniques this morning from because I'm coming from California, but you don't have to go to that level of boldness. You can step in it from where you are.
True that. And as you say that, I'm reading the banner behind you. It says
Mhm.
no permissions needed. You really don't need permission because it's about you. It's about understanding what you stand for and then truly, truly standing for that.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a picture of us. I'm going to post some pictures. There's a picture of you holding this sign. I think you and us, are holding the sign when we met in Dubai.
That was a Dubai picture, yes.
That was the Dubai picture. And I think the other thing too is when you step into your boldness and you step into really the possibilities of your life, you get to meet people. You get to go places,
Mhm.
and places, whether they're internally in your heart, internally here, or whether they are places that are physical to touch, right? Or new lands, cultures. And you meet people from all over the world. You have different experiences, and it really heightens, the experiences that you are having and can create in your life.
So the question I would like to ask my listeners is, what experiences would you like to create for yourself?
Yeah,
Would
I
you
love
like
that
to
question.
boldly create for yourself? Let's use that word as liberally as we can. Boldly. Would you like to boldly create for yourself?
As they come up with their answers, when I was traveling to Dubai, I think I was posting, that I was in Dubai, and you saw the post and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I'm here. I'm in Dubai. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And I was actually on my way to speak at a women's networking event, at one of those days in the week during my travels. And you were able to meet me there. And I remember your papa, passing, and I remember how you were saying that you weren't sure. And I said, well, it's okay if you don't, but if you do, I would just love to see your beautiful face and to give you a hug. And in the crowded room, it was literally hundreds of women there from all over the world, mainly in the UAE area. Um, but it was UEA. And so, and then I saw you and I was like, oh my goodness, you came, and we hugged, and we sat together and we chat. And it was just so amazing. So amazing to
Absolutely.
see you.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I feel like that's a connection. That's something that if I had not stepped into my boldness, it was something that wouldn't have happened, and because I wouldn't have gone to the next level, which was coming to Dubai.
True that. And sometimes that's what it takes, right? Because speaking at WEF, at the time, who was I? I was a freelance writer.
Yeah.
I wasn't a trained orator. All I knew was I knew the stories I've been through.
Mhm.
I was a master practitioner NLP at the time, but was I a business owner, a change maker, a thought leader, as so many of the women already there?
Mhm.
I wasn't. At least I didn't think of myself in that capacity at that time because that was my
Mhm.
first time at WEF. But once you start owning your space, as I was talking about, people listen and people connect with you, and they realize that, hey, I know that. That's what I have also been through, or maybe I'd like to have some of that. So
Yeah.
just curious, how did this journey of being a career coach, a business strategist, a boldness coach eventually come about for you?
That's a really great question. And it came from probably the basic need of wanting more out of my life. And it
Hmm.
was like, is this all that life has to offer me? Because I
Okay.
think that we get to certain pinnacles in our life, and it's like you work towards getting there, and then you get there and it's like, okay, I'm here.
Exactly.
I'm here. So what's next?
Hmm.
And then sometimes the what next doesn't go deep enough inside of you to stretch you. Sometimes the what's next is in arm's reach. And that's not really a stretch. So I was at a point in my career, in my business. I've been an entrepreneur full time now for about 20 plus 23 years. I've been an entrepreneur full time. So I've had a lot of great pinnacles in my life and in my career. And I'm still young. And I'm like, what's next? Is this it? Is this it
Hmm.
for me? And I said, I want more of my life. And I asked myself the question, and this is what your listeners can ask themselves today: who do I need to be to really access, the richness of who I was created to be? So I
Ooh,
want to
that's
repeat the
powerful.
question. Yeah, who do I need to be to access the richness of who I was created to be in the world? And I think that is a really good question because I ask myself, who do I, the same question I'm posing, and it's like, I really need to be bold. I
Hmm.
really need to be bold. So you can turn that adjective into a noun, into a state of being. And then I started to really seek bolder opportunities. And
Hmm.
instead of asking the safe questions, I would say, well, what's next? And
Hmm.
then what? And then what? So I would really flush out the possibility of a thought.
Hmm.
I would really flesh out the possibility of the return on an action. And then the more I fleshed it out, sometimes I couldn't even get to, asking that question more than 3 or 4 times because one or two times was so exciting about what was possible. And I'm like, ooh,
Ooh.
ooh, if I go to Dubai, I could really, I could be in a different country, a different continent. Ooh, going to Dubai, I could meet some new people. Ooh, and so before I could get in who I could meet, or even tapping into my network, I was already excited and I was moving towards action,
Hmm.
to step into that. And I would say often to myself, oh, that was bold of you. That was really bold of you. And eventually I would start asking myself when possibilities would present, can this be bolder? Is this the
Hmm.
boldest that this could be for this possibility? So
True.
that's how it started to evolve in my career to get past being a trainer, to get to the next step of being a career coach. And I was really listening not only to external, kind of pulls from the universe, but I also was listening to my soul beckoning for more. And the two were connecting, being centered and being grounded. The two started to connect, and it just put me in a place of possibility. So that's
Beautiful.
how that started to birth.
Beautiful. I love what you shared just now, and that question is super powerful. Trisha agrees. Cindy says she would like to become a writer,
Yes,
and it's
yes.
all it's
And
all about trusting yourself and confidence.
it
Yes.
is. And I would say to Cindy, and hi Trisha, thanks for being here, Trisha.
Thank you.
So great to see you. And Cindy, I really applaud you for putting it out there, being vulnerable to say what you'd like to have in your life. And here's one of the things that I would really encourage you to do is to not look at anyone else. Don't look at any other authors. Don't look at any other author's works that you've read or want to read, or, I would really encourage you to tune everything out around you and just go for writing. Because what happens at this day and age, we're in the click society, right? And we're in the society of instantaneousness. And so whenever we think about what we want to do, we go and look at other people. And then we start to measure ourselves against what we are perceiving as their success or as a level of success, right? You cannot compare your beginning to someone else's middle because we have no idea the journey and what happened in that journey of getting there. So I would say tune out everything and just write. And don't necessarily look for people to recognize, your writing skills. Write from your heart, write what you believe, and just share it and just share it. So when you can do that, when you can give and release from a place of boldness, then it will take root in the places that it's supposed to take root in. And it will take the necessary time to root. So don't look for an instant result. Don't look for, instant fame or recognition, but come from a place of authenticity that this is who I am. This is the gift that I was born to give to the world. And I'm going to write. And if somebody sees it, great. If someone doesn't see it, that's okay. I'm fulfilling who I need to be.
Hmm. And she says, I write poetry now, but it's been a while. So it's been a while, so now's the time to get
Hmm.
started all over again.
Now is the
And
time to get started. Yeah, the conversation today is about finishing bold. So I am going to challenge you because we have what? What do we have? 48 hours left, maybe?
Yeah,
In
well, it depends where you are
who you
in the
are,
world.
right?
Yeah, it really depends on where you are. But yes, quite like that, the countdown has begun in many countries. If you look at Australia, Australia is already on the 31st, 4 a.m. in some parts of Australia. So yes,
Yes.
we're literally counting down the hours to welcome the new year. So this is such a lovely conversation. And Trisha takes the word right out of my mouth. She says, this is such a timely conversation. Yes, it is the perfect time to have this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as you were speaking to Cindy, it wasn't just her that you were inspiring. You were inspiring every other person who wants to take that next step forward, who wants to probably step out of their comfort zone, but is kind of conscious of who's watching me. Will I be good enough? Should I even attempt this? Why hurt myself? All of those conversations.
Right,
So
right.
how do you move past the conversations in the mind?
So you pointed out the sign up above, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So really what the hesitation is about really is permission. We've been conditioned to ask for permission, in the form of acceptance from others externally, even the ones that are closest to us. We've been conditioned from early parts of our lives, as we were coming into, our adulthood, just the different phases of growth in life. We've been conditioned and put upon us by other people. You should be this. You should do that. If you do this, then you'll get that. Smart women like you will do this. Or
Behave,
go ahead.
behave like a woman.
Yeah, behave like a woman. And
Woman.
so, or women don't do that. So we've really been programmed, in our lives from early childhood up to sometimes to the current moment about who we should be. And also we've been programmed that once we tap into those things about what others say we should be, we go back to them and we ask, did I do okay? Was that good enough? Did you like it? Should I do more of it? And so what happens, one of the things that I did, and I'll grab this for a second right here, is I wrote my first book. Back in 2015. What is this? This is 2020. So I wrote this book a couple years ago, and it's called Bold Isms: Disruptive Thoughts to Help You to Live Bold, Big, and Bad. Well, what was going on in my life was I wasn't happy and wasn't satisfied. Just like when I mentioned in the previous question, is that you get to a certain point of pinnacle and you're like, okay, what else is there to do? Is this it? Is this the top of it? And so I started to ask myself, where where's this operation that this belief system, that I've turned into a truth? Are these things true that others have told me? Are these beliefs true, or are they beliefs? Because beliefs can change, right? Here's the fact: rocks are hard, water is wet. Cannot change that. But you can change what somebody imposes on you and that you've adopted to be a truth. It may be their belief. So when I started asking those questions, I realized that I had been operating from a place of permission seeking, because permission seeking, really does make other people comfortable.
Absolutely. And I'd like to add to that, when you say rocks are hard and water is soft,
Mhm.
uh, if
What is wet?
water is wet,
Mhm.
and if water should decide, it can break the rocks.
Yes,
If it's
absolutely.
persistent enough, it can do that.
Right.
So where are you not pushing your boundaries, and how important is it to push your boundaries? Because
Mhm.
my career as a writer, as and later on, which segued into being a coach, a trainer, and a speaker, was only possible because one fine day I found myself standing in front of a pile of dishes and asking myself this question: there must be more to life than diapers and dishes.
Yeah. That sounds like a good blog article or even a good
It,
book.
it
That
is.
must be more to life.
It's one
Go
of the chapters in my book.
Yes,
So
I love
yes.
that. I love that. Yeah, and I've had that question, also pre-writing the book, and that's what led to the book was, where did these beliefs come from? Are these really real? Who said that? Like some of the colloquialisms, right? No pain, no gain. And so people equate
growth with being painful. They equate change with being painful. And sometimes people rely on the fact that if it's not in their head, the belief that they've turned into a fact, that if it's not painful, it's not working. Well, that's not true. That's not true. Growth isn't always painful. Growth can actually be enlightening, rewarding. It can be blissful. So challenging that and not asking for permission from other people if they believe that to be true. Is your thinking right on this? Really going with it and testing it out to see the results in your own life, having experiences with that.
True. And one of the things that I had begun to notice as I started attending conferences, summits, etc., was, sometimes a speaker on stage is a different personality, and then once they step off the stage, and I'm not taking any names, but once they step off the stage, they're this absolutely cold character that you don't want to engage with. And in my head, I was thinking, is that what happens to you when you become rich and famous?
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? I was very happy being humble and myself and
Mm-hmm.
playing it small for the longest of
Mm.
times. I felt
Yeah.
no. I kept pushing away any kind of success that came to me, thinking, no, that's how I would turn into a cold character that doesn't connect with people. And for me, it's all about connections. It's all
Yeah.
about,
Right.
letting people know that, yes, I hear you, I see you, let's do this together. So
Right.
I had to work my way through what I've been thinking.
I think that's really great that you said that. And I want to tap back into the finishing strong, because one of the things that I noticed, and I want to be clear with the audience, when I'm talking about examples and experiences, I have been there. So I am not speaking from a place of observation, of others. I see that true enough, but I start from myself first. And then when I recognize in myself, then I can see others and I can see what is showing up with other people. I think that's one of the beauties about being a coach, is that you really do get to tap into your own life first and
Yep,
your own experiences
absolutely,
before you can
absolutely.
really have a vulnerable and open conversation with others. But what I see from a lot of individuals, and again, there's no name calling on here because everyone is where they are because of where they are, is that
Yep.
I see a lot of people that will partake in distractions, in their lives, as opposed to stepping in their boldness. I'll give you an example. So I'm an entrepreneur. I mentioned that I have been an entrepreneur full time for 23 years. Like, this is how I make my living. As an opportunity to continue to grow and to really support my lifestyle, my livelihood, it's important for me to keep growing. And one of the things that I've really encouraged myself to not do so much is to allow distractions to derail me from the focus, meaning taking other classes, going after other certifications, going after the things that definitely can complement the business, but they don't necessarily push me past the boundary of doing what needs to be done in the moment for the business. So a lot of times people will do distracting things around them, and they will get some results from those things. However, it does not call them forth to a higher level. So they would do something at a level of comfort, and then people will chime in and say, "Oh, you're so brave. You're so smart. Oh, you inspire me as I eat my popcorn and watch you." But the question that I want you to ask yourself is, have you inspired yourself to the highest level? Have you challenged yourself to get out of your comfort zone? So that's something that I want the listeners to, in finishing strong, when you look back and reflect on this year from a place of your growth, what is the highest level of growth that you have pushed yourself into that did not require an audience, that did not require permission? And I want you to ask yourself that question, and ask it honestly. Answer it honestly so that you can see where you are. And if you have not pushed yourself to the highest level with no one watching, there is still time for you to do that for yourself.
Powerful. Thank you. We have a question from Cindy. So we're just
Mhm.
going to scroll up and look at her question. She says, "My biggest question is, do I really have anything of significance to say? How do you know if you do? Or does it even matter? You are so inspiring me. Thank you, Cindy, for that question.
That is a good, oh, I got chills, Cindy. I got chills. Here's what I'll say to that, Cindy. You are here. The fact that you are here in this moment, on this day, but in this conversation, that means that you have significance in the world. Significance does not need to come on a banner. It does not need to come in a text message. Significance does not need to come with thousands or millions of like on any of the social media platforms. The sheer fact that you are asking that question beckons that, and you are really expressing it, whether you're typing it out, whether you're asking it out loud, that beckons the answer that yes, you are significant. And here's the thing that I'm going to say to you. This is from a place of boldness, yet from a place of love. It is none of your business as whether or not what you say matters to the world. That's none of your concern. Because that's too big of a burden. And if you have to think about, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, Rakaya, about what you were talking about, looking at the other speakers and how some of them came off stage and they were so cold. If you had stayed in that space of looking at those as examples of significance, we would not be here. We would not be here. So, Cindy, I'm going to encourage you once again to not look at anybody else. You are significant by the sheer fact that you are here in this moment, in this conversation. Do not concern yourself as to whether or not what you have to say will matter. There is someone in the world who needs what you have to say. Your responsibility is to get it out. That is all you're responsible for.
Absolutely. And Vaneese says, I do my daily live videos, right? And today was day 975.
Woo!
Oh, thank you. Woo! And I'm not saying it for the number, but what I'm saying is there are days that there's nobody watching. There's literally no one watching. I'm doing the live because it's my commitment to me. And I'm doing the live with as much energy as I can put into it, knowing that whoever needs to receive the message will get to it. I can't really be like put off just because there are no viewers, and I cannot really say, okay, I'm doing my live, but I'm so slack and so not giving in the moment, not giving my 100%, that people can see through and understand that she's not interested in what she's doing. So what you said is so true. Your responsibility is just to deliver and not be concerned with, does it even matter or not? Because if I thought that way, on some days I would have just not played completely myself. So yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because here's the thing that you don't know is that in the moment, no one may have been watching. But when you look at the replays of how many people have replayed that, I think that becomes mind blowing. And that's a confirmation that even when you don't see something appearing that you're hoping to happen, doesn't mean it's not happening. It may mean in that moment in time that it's not happening because you don't see it. And that leads to another part. And I do want to tap into, there's some really great comments here that I see.
Yes.
That one of the things that's important in finishing strong in 2020, finishing bold, is to learn how to surrender.
Oh, true.
Learn how to surrender. And yes. Cindy, that can also propel you, because here's what happens when we're not surrendering. We are in a place of manipulation. And what I mean by manipulation, a lot of times we operate from that. If I do this, then this will happen. Or I'm going to do this, so that will happen. Well, I'm not going to do that because I'm not sure that's going to happen. How do I know? How will I know? I need to make sure that I'm sure. So if you're coming from a place of perfection, that is really about manipulation, meaning you want it to go the way you want it to go. And if you are questioning the outcomes of something, that is about you manipulate. You want it to control it. So when you surrender and you say, you know what, I don't know how any of this is going to turn out. Just like you said, I show up, I do my best every day. I don't know if someone's going to hear this. I don't know if it matters to anyone, but what I am committed to is surrendering and doing my best. And then what happens after that, it's none of my concern. Absolutely. So that's important. So surrendering, to the possibilities and do not get caught up in the process.
Mm,
Because when we get caught up and start analyzing the process, that is what throws us off. And it puts us in the space of perfectionism, which is really about manipulating the outcome.
true that.
And when you manipulate, it never comes out the way that you wanted it to come out. Never.
True. Okay, going back to comments, we've got Tamiko who says distractions can be very deceiving. We have Srinivas who says wonderful not to allow distract from focus. It's a high level of mindfulness. Trisha says, oh my God, the distractions happen and I don't even realize it's happening.
Yes. Yeah.
So how do you support clients when they become distracted? Great question, Trisha. Thank you for asking that.
You know,
And before you answer, I'm just going to ask those who are new to the platform on YouTube or whether it's Facebook, just give the host platform a subscribe because A, I do the daily conversations, and B, on Wednesdays at this time, we bring in a guest speaker and we kind of thrash it out on a topic that is simple yet so significant. So please, a subscribe would really be helpful. Yes, now over to you for the question, please. How do you support clients when they become distracted?
it's funny because I have some clients here in the comments and some of the women who have been to some of my programs. I think it's important to stay in touch. So there are clients that come work with me through different levels of programs. So sometimes they are short-term programs, they may be event specific, and sometimes it's really private conversations. So actually between today and tomorrow, it is on my task list. I'm going to be reaching out to clients, to have really short check-ins with them. And some of my clients will tell you, I will just call them random and text them random and say, hey, you want to jump on a call? I just want to check in and see how you're doing. There are times I'm watching on the sidelines and I will slide into people's DMs and say, hey, I saw you, congratulations. Or I'll slide in and say, hey, I think it's time for us to check in. I see what you're doing. I'm curious, but it's never from a place of you should. It's from a place of, I really want to support you and what can I do to support you? And sometimes it's from a place of asking deeper, challenging questions because I see there's an opportunity for you to go deeper in where you are. So staying in community is really important, in supporting clients, either one-on-one or whether it's in a group. I really encourage clients to do that. And after working with me, I encourage clients to really connect with the support system, that's at the level of where you are growing to, not your level of where you're comfortable at. Connect with, community for the next level so that those can be able to share with you and to recognize when you're stuck and to share with you how they were able to move from stuck and to also encourage you to step even higher. So I think that's really important. And those are ways that I support clients.
Super. So Tamiko actually says, distracted as I'm cleaning off my desk instead of digging into my list of things to do. Well, you're giving value time, you're getting value time here. So that's okay. It's not really doesn't count as distraction when you're listening to Vaneese speak. It doesn't now.
But you know what? I think Tamiko brings up a good point, and the distraction can be we're doing tasks and we need to look at that to-do list, Tamiko, and really see what task on that to-do list is a task that's going to stretch you. And here's even a back-end question that I would ask you. When you look at your task list, ask the question, what am I avoiding? What am I avoid doing? Start there first. So before you write a to-do list, write this question out. What am I avoiding? What tasks am I avoiding that can help catapult my business? What tasks am I avoiding that could really help me to step into my boldness? And list out the things you are avoiding, the tasks you are avoiding. Once you list those out, then I want you to compare to your to-do list and really see, how does that to-do list stack up to the list of what you are avoiding? And then look at the risk and the rewards, of both of those lists, right? Yes, you can clean off your desk, and yeah, you have a great desk, and my desk is all clean.
And then?
And what else? And what
Mm-hmm.
else? So my desk is all clean because now I can focus on this number one task of calling every single client on my client list, for putting out a call to them. So that is what I'm aiming to do. So I would really encourage to ask, what am I avoiding? That's a way to finish bold, is answer those questions. Answer that question. What are the things I'm avoiding that can help me to go into the next level of my life?
True, true, true. So, so true. So we have, Cindy says that answer was extremely helpful. Trisha, thank you so much for encouraging the commitment. We've got Elaine, who's Elaine. Yes, Elaine, who's
Mhm.
watching, says, surrender boldly. Cindy
Yeah.
adds to say, surrender is imperative. Don't play it so safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's real? We are clever and smart human beings. We were designed this way, right? And we get so clever until we will just keep ourselves from growing, because we'll even rationalize why we're not growing. We'll
Mhm,
rationalize what's getting in the way.
mhm.
We'll
Absolutely.
rationalize the work we need to do. But
True that.
here is the true test. The true test is actually surrendering, which means do the work, give into the work, as opposed to looking at what will need to be in place for you to do the work.
Mhm.
When it be a good time for you to do the work?
When would now be a good time
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
the work?
Right, right. So those things keep us from growing and stepping into our boldness, because that, again, that's manipulation, when we are rationalizing our choices
Yep.
versus saying, it's time for me to grow. I'm all in. It will work itself out. And once you start doing that, it's amazing what resources will come into play with you, whether that's people that you connect with, whether that's investment resources, or whether just what you need shows up for you because of the commitment.
Mhm. And one of the ways I look at measuring opportunities that show up is, what is the price, what is the value, what is the cost.
Yes.
So what's
Yes,
the
I
price
love
that I have to, yeah. So what's the price that I have to pay to get to that level? What do I need to do? What is the value in that opportunity for me? And what would be the cost if I were to let that opportunity just go?
I
So
love
yeah,
that. I
thank
love
you.
that. Yeah, I love that, asking those three questions, because it frames it. It really frames it for you to really think about. And I'll say something personal about myself over the last couple of months. We all know that 2020 has really been an incredible year on many different levels.
Yes.
And the first part, I would say probably the first 10 months of the year, or should I say the 6 months of COVID, I was like super slammed busy with work. I was really busy. And one of the things that I did when I picked my head up from the first probably 8 weeks of my busyness, I realized that I was living in the moment of busyness and not really thinking about the future and who I needed to be, so that when the future shifted, I was ready to shift with the future. So fast forward into October of this year. So my third week of October, things slowed down for me, and the last of October, it came to a halt. And I realized that I needed quiet time. So I intentionally withdrew myself from a lot of my social media engagement and interaction. I spent more quiet time with myself. I'm 90% almost done with decorating my home. I needed to change my environment. I needed to change the energy of my environment. I needed my environment to be more reflective of who I am in this moment of the journey of my life, because I realized there's more to do. And it wasn't easy to pull back from being a busybody, because that was what I was accustomed to and used to. And I had to tell myself, even change my language. I remember in the process when things were really just kind of in disarray in my home, I said to myself, my home's a mess, my office is a mess, everything's a mess, it's chaos all over the place. And in the moment, my spirit stopped me and said, is this really chaos? Or
Mhm.
is this what transition looks like? And I said, aha, this is what transition looks like. when everything comes to a head and you have to really get clear what stays, what goes, what gets repurposed. So the same questions that you asked yourself, what is the reward, by doing this, and then, what's the outcome? If I don't do this, what is the cost of not doing this?
Yep.
So that was really huge for me, to a person who's always out there, who's always on the front, to pull themselves back, to just do an overview and look at my life as a whole, and really finish strong by changing my environment, because something next is coming for me. I don't know what that next is. What I do know is that shifting my mindset and getting myself ready right now, which is being in the possibility, Cindy, which is showing up right now, is the only thing that I'm required to do, and it unfolds. I had no idea that things were going to be as beautiful as they are in my life right now. So I just want to impart that on everyone, that even the best of us, or what appears to be the best of us, are doing things in the background and working towards becoming, who we need to be. And it's not always easy, but it's definitely a commitment that you get to push through.
Absolutely. One of the metaphors that I share, especially around this COVID time and transitioning, is if you were on a train that was passing through a tunnel. Yeah. If you're on a train passing through a tunnel, one moment you're enjoying the greenery, the fresh air, and then it's suddenly dark and choked up, and you really don't know what's going on. And when the train's on the tracks, it amplifies. The sound begins to amplify. Everything that you receive from the outside begins to amplify. Whether it's the news of the deaths, the things going wrong, all of that, it just gets amplified. So the best thing to do in this moment of darkness is to focus on yourself.
I like that. I love that analogy. That is so great. Because when you're on a train and you go in the tunnel, you don't know how long the tunnel is. Mm-hmm. There's no light in the tunnel. You literally have no control. You're just in this space.
You're in this space. And all you can do is to hold that space, go within. Be mindful of the people around you, obviously. Just make note of who's with you, who isn't, what are they doing. Just have a mental awareness and focus on yourself is the best you can do in that tunnel, in that moment. So for most of us, and as the world is shifting and changing, we are now heading towards almost, hopefully, the end of the tunnel. But how have you utilized the time there? Because one thing that I've been saying again is that I would like to be ready when the world is ready for me.
Yes. Oh. I really like that perspective.
Yeah. So how would you like to ready yourself? What would you like to be preparing towards is a question that you could ask yourself too.
Yeah. And it's so great that you say that, because I feel like that in my own life, from a sense of urgency of getting ready, ready. It's like, I need to get myself ready because I don't know what's on the other side. However, I want to be prepared. And in the way that also listeners can think about this is, think of how many times in the past that you heard the message from internal saying, you need to change. There's a time to shift. Now is the time for you to step into the next level. And you said, oh no, I'm not going to do that. That's scary. Or I don't know if it's the right time, or you just doubted yourself, right? And then look at the results versus the rewards. How many times have we said to ourselves, had I done this, then I would be. And I think a prime example in business happens when we're not in a position to be ready. And I can say this as a business coach. I coach a lot of small businesses to help them to really look at the health of their business. And when the pandemic hit and economic opportunity came to bail out some of these businesses, or some economic relief came, I would have to tell you that probably about 90% of the businesses that I talked to, they were not ready. They were not in a position to respond. Whether they didn't have documentation together, they didn't have systems in place, and they were really scrambling. And a lot of them lost opportunity to get funding relief because they were not ready.
They were not ready.
They were not ready. And I'm not blaming them and or pointing out and saying shame on you, and no means, but that was a great example of
Yep.
getting yourself ready in your life, because you don't know when you're going to meet, for any of those that are single like myself, you don't know when you're going to meet that the love of your life. What do you need to do to get yourself ready for that? You don't know when the next business opportunity, the big business opportunity, is going to come for you. It could be landing that first client, but you need to have your processes and systems in place to be able to do that. You don't know when the next company is going to be looking for someone to do poetry for them, but you haven't been writing, and they're going to say to you, can you send me your most recent poetry writings? And you don't have any to send them, and then you're scrambling trying to figure that out. So I love that, getting ready for what's next in your life without really knowing specifically what the next thing is. That's the surrender part.
Love that. So I think that surrendering seems to be that the theme of our conversation as well today, because it's so important to not attach connection, or
Mm.
not attach with the results. A lot of us get held up or stuck or disappointed because we're attaching how the results should be. And as you beautifully said, you're manipulating then. You're kind of interfering with the way the universe has chosen for you otherwise.
Yeah, because it's going to go with your energy.
Mm-hmm. It
The
is. It
universe is
is.
going to go with your energy. So if you show up to say, if you get on this train and you say, you know what, I'm going to ride this train, and I'm looking forward to the ride of the train. I'm looking forward to the calm ride, the scenic views. I'm looking forward to sitting next to someone who's interesting to talk with. I'm just really looking for the whole really great experience. Then when you get on that train, when it hits a tunnel, you're not going to freak out. You're gonna
Uh-huh.
be like, oh, this is part of the experience. And I'm sitting next to someone that I'm really having a great conversation with. And before you know it, you've gone through the tunnel. You've been taken maybe on a mental journey, from that conversation,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
the tunnel went so fast. And you're like, wow, we were in that tunnel for 2 days. We were? I had no idea. Like, we had such a good time talking and such a good time sharing ideas and information. I had no idea. And I'll also connect this to the last time that you and I connected. When we saw each other again in Cairo, it didn't feel like it had been a couple years. I think we saw each other in
Yeah. More.
2019.
Yeah. We'd seen each other end of 2018. Oh no,
Yeah,
sorry, 2017 was when I met you in
yeah.
December here in Dubai, and then I met you 3 years, close to 2.5 years in Cairo.
Hmm.
But it didn't feel like that because
It
we
didn't feel like
instantly,
that.
yeah.
When I saw you, I hugged you and I tapped you on the shoulder, and I almost cried because I was like, oh my goodness, you're here. Like, and it just felt so natural. It felt I didn't feel like I was in a foreign place. I didn't feel like I was around foreign people. I just felt like, I have not talked to you in a while. Let's talk. Let's have tea. Let's catch up. What's going on? And it was just really exciting. So I would encourage people to look at that train analogy. You've got some really good comments there too.
Yes, let's go through them quickly. We've got, okay, distractions covered. What
Mhm.
else? Trisha says, ouch. Great questions to ask myself. Thank you. Powerful. What does my transition look like? Thank you, Trisha. Looks like you're enjoying this conversation. Um, and Tamiko says, great way to understand and see transition. Thank you, Trisha, for the appreciation. And Mohan Kut says, how do I want to see myself at the end of the tunnel? Powerful question. Thank you. Trisha says, I was raised to have certain expectations as a way of measuring success. However, being unattached is so powerful, and there is peace that comes with it. True
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And we have Cindy making a declaration. She says, okay, I'm ready to grow. Thank you, both of you, so much. Love you both. You've helped me more than you know, and I feel blessed to have been here. Thank you, Cindy, for being here non-negotiably. Thank you so much. Priya,
It's a blessing to be here.
true that, true that.
Go ahead.
Because, there are so many people who at this time are probably partying New Year's Eve close to getting together with family. And as much as that is also important, you
Mhm.
today have given time to being here in this conversation. You've given priority to yourself and you've said, I'm finishing strong, I'm finishing bold. And I want to understand what finishing bold means. So thank you for giving us your time and joining us. Dale joins in. Thank you. Dale joins in all the way from Ohio. Thank you. And Priya is tuning in from India. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Dale, as well. Guys, if you're new to the platform, once again, a request to subscribe to the channel and be part of these conversations, because what I share here is those little things that make life big. So please do. Any day you wake up is a good day, says Dale. Thank you. Yes, it sure is. It's a blessing to be
You know what,
alive.
Dale, that's so true. And that it's another opportunity for you to own your boldness. So really think of it. So waking up is great because we need that to wake up, right? Unfortunately,
Uh-huh.
many people didn't get that choice, today. They didn't get that blessing today. But when we do wake up every day, that's the question you get to ask yourself is, what bold thing will I do today?
Mm.
What bold thing will I do today? How will I step into my boldness today? And I'm just really encouraging you all to just do one thing. And it could be a series, within the step. So really think about it in that way, Dale.
Yes. Okay. I know we're talking about boldness, we're talking about surrendering and that, but one thing that I really have to include into this conversation is kindness. Because sometimes when we're pushing ourselves to this point where it feels like I am tired, I'm really, really tired, I need a break. How important is it to also be kind? It's bold to be kind to yourself and understand the rhythm of your flow and how you need to be with yourself. What are your thoughts on that, Vaneese?
I think that is so true, to be kind to yourself first before you can be kind. We oftentimes we're kind to other people, and when the kindness isn't returned to us, then we really get offended by it, and then we start questioning, why should I be kind? And I'm going to encourage you to start with kindness from yourself first, and then give kindness out. And if it doesn't come back to you, actually, when you give kindness out because you're kind to yourself, you're not looking for it to come back to you. You're
Hmm.
not looking for it. You release it. You release it into the universe, and you let it go wherever it needs to go with no attachment to a return on it. So I think that's really important about being kind. One of the ways that I'm kind to myself is I pace myself. I pace myself,
Hmm. Yep.
you know, and pacing myself allows me to really manage the energy, of how I'm showing up for myself and how I can show up for other people. And then it allows me to, when I'm good and kind to myself, then when I'm in a place where there's a lot of kind of, excitable energy around, I can still find a place of calmness in that. And wearing my mask, I find the biggest way that I've been able to be kind to people is eye contact. You can smile with your eyes.
You smile with your eyes. Yes.
Smile
Yes.
with your eyes. So still with the mask on, and mine and others, still being able to smile with my eyes, because I smile at myself before I get out of the car. Smile at myself before I leave the house, and I'm kind to myself. And that allows me to really enjoy my experiences being out. I haven't been pressed by standing in line to get into places because of limited, bodies, in an environment. I
Yes.
haven't been pressed with traffic. It's all a great experience. And I feel good being there, because the person in front of me may be complaining, oh, they got this line so long. And I just say, and I look at them and smile and say, yeah, however, they're making sure that we're safe. And I'm glad that they're making sure that we're safe. And then
True.
the person in front of me is like, oh, well, yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that. Or looking at people and saying good morning, especially to the people who are working so hard to make
Yeah.
sure we are safe, is saying good morning. So kindness is really important in the world. It needs to start first with yourself. Get your mirror out
Perfect.
today, before when you in this session with us. Go to your mirror and smile at yourself and be kind to yourself and tell yourself that you love yourself, and you're going to treat yourself better going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being kind enough to joining us today. Thank you. Dale says kindness is disappearing nowadays, and he says yes, amen. Thank
We
you
can bring it
so
back,
much.
Dale. We can bring kindness back. We don't need to let that happen. We don't need to let
Yeah,
kindness disappear. We can bring it back, and it starts with you. So thank you for being here.
thank you. So, anything that you would like to share, and I know I could go on with you forever and ever and ever, but tell me about, okay, before we go, um, anything that you would like to share as a closing comment, something that you would like to share with us. And thank you, Abdullah, for joining today. I just had an inkling of doubt that you would be here today. That's
Yeah,
my son.
the one thing that I will close with, and I'm going to look at the sign behind me. You pointed out. So live a life of no permission needed. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I want to leave everyone with, is to live a life of no permission needed. And that has to do with self-trust, self-direction, and self-love. So those are the three. How do you live a life of no permission needed? Self-trust. Trust yourself. Your heart is not going to lead you astray. It is not going to tell you any falsehoods. So self-trust is important. Self-direction. Trust yourself to know that the direction you are going is in alignment with how you need to show up in the world. Trust yourself, and you'll get feedback. You'll get feedback. Those rewards will let you know when you are going in the right way and when you need to adjust. Self-love. Love on yourself. Be kind to yourself. Sometimes we don't always hit the goal. Sometimes we have to start again. Sometimes we have to create something new. But
Mm-hmm.
love yourself in the process and define what self-love looks like for you. So that's what I want to leave with everyone.
Thank you. And when you keep saying no permission needed, there is one tiny little thing that I really would like to share. And
Sure.
is it okay? Is it okay if we go a little ahead of time, guys? It's just give us a yes, because I see there's engagement, and I think you definitely are enjoying this conversation. So my breakthrough during Master Prac NLP was required for me to have an aha moment, have a breakthrough, have a realization. And we were almost nearing the end of the day, and I hadn't budged. I was giving all the right answers. I was, being very mindful, very kind, very, very right, very right.
Mhm.
And that's the time when my trainer said, okay, lie down on your stomach.
Mhm.
And I did roll back my eyes, and I thought, okay, what is she talking about? All right, fine. I'll lie down on my stomach. I lied down on my stomach. And as I did that, she wiped her feet on my back.
Wow.
It gives me goosebumps every time, still
Mhm.
day. And she said, you say that people treat you like a doormat. Do you realize that this is how it feels physically? And in that moment, I crashed. Cried and cried and cried, because I realized, yes, I'm letting people walk all over me. And I just lay there on the floor crying.
Mhm.
And they waited for me to sit up. But you know what? Even after 12 days of programming and learning and all of that, I didn't learn that I need to sit up and respect myself. They waited, and then they said, so what are you going to do about it?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And
Sorry.
it's all right. And I said, this needs to stop.
Oof.
And how are you going to do that? I said, aren't you going to sit up for yourself, is what she asked me. And I said, can I?
Mm. The programming.
Yes. And
The programming.
she said, I will strip you of all your certificates and everything, because after so much of learning, so much of being, whatever you've learned and been through, if you're still going to ask me, can I? It
Mm.
kind of boils down to nothing. And I said, no. And I sat up and I said, yes, this is me. This is
Mhm.
who I am. I give nobody the permission to walk all over me. And so that's when, every time you've been saying no permission needed, that's what's been ringing in my head. And I just have to share this, because
I
that,
love that.
that changed my life forever.
That is such a great analogy. And I like the fact that she physically had you to lie on your stomach and she wiped her feet on your back.
Mhm.
And I like that. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Because I can imagine, I'm visualizing as you're speaking, I'm visualizing that happening, and I would have boohoo too, you know, on that, to physically feel what that's like, and to put it into context. So, excuse me, to put it into context, so that when you're out in the world and you allow that to happen, I imagine there's something happens in your spine.
Mhm. Yes.
When you feel that happening, you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel good,
Yes.
and then to still acknowledge, even in that exercise, to realize how deep the programming is for us, for all of us, and to release it and then ask, can I get up?
Uh-huh.
As opposed to just hopping up and saying, get off my back,
Yeah.
and getting up. That was powerful.
I was just used to taking instructions. So for me, it was more like, is it okay to do this? Would it offend anybody? And that's what happens, right? Sometimes you're so considerate about everybody else that you forget about your own self. And
Whew, that goes with the no permission needed. We're asking permission from others. Is it going to offend somebody else? Is it going to be okay if I set up and take care of myself? Is it going to be okay if I put myself first versus doing the dishes, or changing the
Mhm.
diapers?
Diapers and dishes.
Diapers and dishes. And it goes to celebrations. We hear it a lot. Christmas time just passed. A lot of people put themselves in debt, buying gifts for everybody else. And then they're left with holding a bill, and can't really do the things that they need for themselves because they've spent their resources for other people. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy people gifts. That's up to you. But is acknowledging them the way that you're acknowledging them the way that they really want it, or is that the way that serves you?
Or is it the way that others are expecting of you?
Yeah, and you have been programmed to do it that way, with others.
So true.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
So
Wow.
when I said yes to doing a TEDx talk, it was more like it was something on my bucket list, and I said yes, I'm going to do this.
Mhm.
But I didn't know what I was going to share. The only idea I had in my head was I hate the way people constantly complain about their lives. They blame everybody under the sun, the in-laws, the weather, the children, the family, the education, their height. And they say, I can't do it because. And I said, how do I get on a platform that gives me the opportunity to tell people, no, it's possible? And TEDx was that. Thank you. So my TEDx talk is called The Art of Possibility.
Ooh.
And thank you.
Mm.
And it's a talk which is delivered by someone who's on a stage with a presentation for the first time in her life. So
Mm.
never been a clicker speaker, nope. But TEDx was when I did it the first time. So yeah, that's all about jumping into it. And I say in my talk that you move from feeling stuck to
Mhm.
unstuck
Mhm.
using gratitude and acceptance.
That is so beautiful. You
Thank you.
know, a couple things I want to say on that. So I hope Cindy heard that.
Oh, seriously
Because
did.
when you ask the question, how do I, share this with people? How do I get on a platform? You didn't say, how do I get on TEDx?
Nope.
You said, how do I get on a platform? And so that's a good question. So, Cindy, in writing your poetry, how do I inspire someone through my
Hmm.
poetry? So that's a good question to ask, on that. The other thing that I'll say too is the shift comes in forms of simplicity. It doesn't
Yeah.
come in forms of grandiose. It comes in
Nope.
forms of simplicity. So when you said gratitude, you know, giving gratitude and really understanding what gratitude really is and understanding what gratitude looks like,
Mm-hmm.
that's really important.
Yes.
And also again back to the surrender. What does surrendering look like? Understanding what surrendering is and what surrendering looks like. That goes with the appreciation.
Yes.
So that was so powerful that you share that. And look what your surrendering did and showing up in the world did put you on one of the world's biggest, largest, universal platforms, not worldly, but universal platforms.
Thank you.
You could never even dream bigger than that.
Nope. Nope. And that's what gave me the smile strategy. I said acceptance comes when you smile. And we have the S stands for silence the mind.
Mhm.
M, manage your attention.
Mm.
I, identify the intention. L, let things go. And E is energize the possibilities. So put things into action. Thank you.
I love that smile. I remember when you first started doing Smile. I
Yes.
remember. I
Thank
remember
you.
when you started that. And it hasn't been that long. It has
No,
not been that long.
nope. It's just been around 3 years now. Not
Yeah.
very, very long as compared to 23 years of experience. But yes,
Yeah.
only 3 young years. But I'm learning. And so, people, what would be that one action that you're going to take? Because you can't spell a smile without the E. So, what is the action that you're taking so that you are finishing bold? Is what we'd love to hear from you. Please put it
I
in comments
would
and
do that.
announce to the world that this is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah. I see you got some more comments on there too. Yeah,
Oh,
now
yes.
to the world. There's power in speaking out loud a declaration. There's power in saying it, even if nobody hears you, even if there's no audience. But luckily, there's an audience here. But there is power in a verbal declaration,
Yes.
because once you say you're going to do something, the universe hears you and it starts to conspire to get you what you need.
True.
So when you said, how do I, how do I get on a platform? With that. And then as you ask that question out loud, you may have then called somebody and start talking to somebody and saying, I was saying to myself earlier, how do I get on the platform? And someone else may have said, oh, so do you know so-and-so? Let me introduce you to so-and-so. Or you may go to your inbox and then an email pops up that says TEDx is coming to Dubai. Or you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, and that person was a former speaker at TEDx, and then you have a conversation. So when you make a declaration, a verbal declaration, watch what happens and be prepared to stay in the flow and continue with the flow, and so that you can be in the possibility of it.
Absolutely. Being in flow is so important. We have Cindy who has announced and made that declaration. I'm going to start writing a story. I have stuff to tell. We've got appreciation coming in from Elaine, Tamiko, and Tosif watching us on LinkedIn. So thank you, everyone. This is everyone's giving us permission to keep going. That's when I'd asked when we touched the hour. Gosh, it's like two like minds sitting together, creating magic. As I said, I could go on with this forever, but she has just started her day and mine is coming to an end. So thank you, everyone, for engaging, for participating, and for giving priority to finishing bold. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be here today and the conversation with you. It's so great to be in this space with you, my friend. And this was the exact perfect time and moment for us to have this conversation. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And until next year, see you later. Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. Okay.